3 minutes, huh?
Yeah. Ay, coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, been dope on flame. I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again. I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again. Pump up the action. I'm active. If he never heard of been dope, he just napping. Jackson's off the rapping. Keep it on my body, bitch, I'm broke if you ask it. Don't gotta sell him, Cialis, flawless. Broken whips as long as it is foreign. Heard you want it cause the yam's enormous. What's in since she isn't gorgeous? Live my life, last name of Morgan Freeman. Trying to touch a forest, do not know when knocking on the door is. Came in, I came in, I came in. Did it like the Porsches coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again. Okay, alright. Coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10, yeah. Yeah. Ay, coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, been dope on flame. I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again. I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again. Pump up the action. I'm active. If he never heard of been dope, he just napping. Jackson's off the rapping. Keep it on my body, bitch, I'm broke if you ask it. Don't gotta sell him, Cialis, flawless. Broken whips as long as it is foreign. Heard you want it cause the yam's enormous. What's in since she isn't gorgeous? Live my life, last name of Morgan Freeman. Trying to touch a forest, do not know when knocking on the door is. Came in, I came in, I came in. Did it like the Porsches coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again. Okay, alright. Coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10, yeah.
What's good? What's good? What's good? How y'all
What's
feeling?
up, fellas, man? Y'all already, man, great, super great. Excited for another Wednesday with y'all, man.
Man,
How you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. I'm even better, man, knowing that we got a special guest in the building. You did?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Byron, you always kill the intros, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna go ahead and let you do the intro. You feel me?
Oh man, listen. When I tell y'all this brother coming out of Philly has been not only inspirational, is a huge impact to Black real estate investors, also providing education. Man, just a consistent, just genuine brother. Man, I got to give it up for my bro, Doug Depte, man. Bring him on to the stage.
Yo.
Hey,
Hey, what's going on, brothers? I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Oh man, I'm just glad to be on the stage with you guys. Let's get it.
Man, let's get it, man.
Yes,
Happy to have
sir.
you, man. I
Yes,
like the
sir,
background
man.
you got, man.
I know, man. That background is
Uh,
beast, right?
oh yeah, thank you. Just a local artist out here in Pennsylvania in Chester County. My guy Kenneth Picasso. But yeah,
That's dope. That's dope.
Wow.
If y'all could do us a
Yeah,
quick
he's fat,
favor
man.
and hit that like button, go ahead and abuse that like button real quick because we got a superstar in the building. You know what I mean? That's finna drop some hella gems. This guy's buying up whole Philly right now, going crazy, right? And we finna talk about exactly how he do that. You feel me? So for him taking his time out, we are very appreciative for him taking his time out. That's why we want to make sure that you're hitting that like button, right? And we're gonna be taking some questions as well. Okay, we're gonna be taking some live questions. So you guys definitely make sure that you tapping in with the questions because we finna go crazy today. So with no further ado, Byron, what's going on, man? What we talking about today?
Man. So, man, we definitely got to tap in with my brother Doug, man. When I tell you, man, like Byron said, make sure you guys smashing that like button. Make sure you sharing this live with at least 5 people. But Doug, man, let's go right. Tell us about yourself, man. Give us some of that background story.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I grew up in an area called Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, and I went to this private school, right? This private school called Germantown Academy. They recruited me to play basketball when I was in 6th grade, right? The basketball coach saw my talent and so forth. The school cost $32,000 a year. My parents didn't have that, and my mom said, "You know what? We're going to try to figure out how to go there." The basketball coach said, "Hey, just apply." So I went to this school, but I was exposed to some crazy things, man. I'm talking about when people turned 16, they were getting the Range Rovers with the big red bow, right? They were taking private jets to Australia for a long weekend.
Wow.
They were getting limo service. From and to school, right? It was just like the super wealthy, and I was just like fascinated. I'm like, man, like what's going on? What's the commonality with these parents, right? So they had all type of businesses. They were doctors, they were lawyers. But as I started to get intrigued with just studying the rich and the wealthy, I realized that they all own something called real estate. So I was like, like they're talking about parents having 20-unit apartment buildings, 30-unit apartment buildings, talking about beach houses, shore houses, all these different things. And I said, you know what? One day I want to be able to send my kids to school in a limousine, right? One day I want my kids to be able to have a Range Rover when they turn 16, right? And one day I want to be able to get the private jet, send some friends over. So like at that moment, I was just exposed to so much that I knew that I had to figure out this thing called real estate. So kind of to take a step, as we moving forward, I went to school at University of Delaware, and I only had $1,000 to my name when I went to school there. My mom threw a big party, like, "Hey, Doug's going to college," so we ponied up some money. We had $1,000 like in the pot, right? So that was in my bank account. My mom was like, "Hey, we just got to figure it out." So long story short, I paid my way through school, worked at this company called Nutrisystem selling weight loss food, and I worked my summer breaks, winter breaks, spring breaks. I'm talking about for 16, 20 hours a day during my time off from school,
Wow.
making up enough money so that I could pay my own way through school, right? And I'm talking in those breaks, I was able to pull $50,000 to $60,000 by grinding and working. But during the school year, I was able to take off, right? Because I put so much work in. I just wanted to focus on my studies. Graduated from University of Delaware with a finance degree, and I went to I got recruited by Bank of America. People, heard of Bank of America. I was one of the few, and I started off in this financial leadership rotational program. So the day I got started, I remember this vividly, right? The day I got started at Bank of America, we're in the elevator with HR. There's 4 other students from University of Delaware that also got selected, and we're in this elevator. We get off the elevator, and there's this lady crying. She's holding a brown box, right? She's just in tears. I asked the HR, like, "What's going on? Why is she crying?" He said, "Oh, don't worry about it. There was just massive layoffs, and we just let some senior talent go, making room for you guys that are coming in. Don't worry, you guys are safe, at least for 2 years because it's a 2-year contract with them." But that moment, I'm like, man, this lady, she's like in her late 50s, early 60s, and she has a mortgage, right? She has kids in college, right? She's been working for this bank for 25 years, and just like that, they gave her a box and told her to kick rocks. So I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, this has been my dream to work in finance. I'm like, yo, this is not it. There's no way that I'm going to sit here and hug this cubicle until I'm 65 years old, 67 and a half years old, right? And just for them to go ahead and give me a box and just kick me to the curb. So I knew immediately that, yo, listen, there has to be another way. So I started to invest in some stocks, and this was when Bank of America, there was a huge nationalization scare, right? So Bank of America stock went from $60 all the way down to $4 a share, right? So I started to load up on some stocks, but then I was renting at the time. I was renting at a one-bedroom apartment with my girlfriend at the time, and I said, yo, I don't want to be renting for the rest of my life. So we rented for a year, and then immediately I contacted a realtor and I said, hey, I need to buy my first property, right? So you want me to just keep going?
Man, we running it. We running it.
All right, bet. Yeah, so well, I'm living in this apartment and we're paying $1,250. We got a nice view looking out into the water, right, in Wilmington, Delaware, right? But I was talking with a buddy that lived in the building. He said, I pay only $1,000 a month. I said, oh, hold on. How are you paying $1,000 a month? So again, I'm very, very frugal. I was already splitting that bill in half with my girlfriend at the time, right? So he said, oh, I have an obstructed view. So I'm looking at the parking garage, right? And I'm paying only $1,000 a month. So immediately right then and there, once I found that information, we packed up our bags and we moved to that obstructed view, paying $1,000 a month. So now I reduced my living costs from $650 down to $500, splitting between the both of us, right? So I'm stacking that money up. And then I said, okay, all right, we're going to buy my first property. So I found out about the FHA program where you only have to put 3.5% down. So the house was a brand new construction. It was a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath property, right? It was a townhome built right on slab. So right on concrete is built. And behind the way that the house was set up, 3 stories, there's a garage. Behind the garage, there's like a little suite with their own bathroom, own exit out the back door. Go up 1 flight of steps. You got the living room. You got the kitchen in the back. You have a deck off of the kitchen, right? You go up another floor toward the back of the house. You have the master bedroom. We're talking about the soaking tub, all that good stuff. There's a bathroom, and for about 3.5 years, right? So we're living in that property for about 3.5 years, right? So we're living in that property, and I say, you know what? I don't want to pay this mortgage. She's like, what do you mean you don't want to pay this mortgage? Like, it's $1,300. We got to pay it. So I don't want to pay the mortgage. So I said, what we're going to do is we're going to rent out one of these rooms. She said, rent out these rooms? Are you crazy? I said, yeah. She basically tied my hands behind my back. She said, hey, listen, I don't want a guy our age living in the property, which, is understandable. She didn't want a lady our age living in the property, which is equally understandable, right? And she didn't want a creepy old man living in that property. So I'm like, dang, like my hands are tied behind my back. Like that basically just eliminated everyone.
Absolutely.
So thankfully, I was able to go ahead and hop on Craigslist, and I found a retired grandmother. So someone else's grandmother, wasn't my grandmother. I don't know her from a can of paint. And I said, okay, well, we found this retired grandmother, and she's going to pay us $750, right? So I moved grandma in, and that moment, that $750 hit the palm of my hands. I was like, oh, snap. This is crazy. Like, I'm actually in a position where I'm just putting a roof over somebody's head, and she's paying me $750 every single 30 days, right? And I'm working at the bank at this time, and I'm making, they started me off at $50,000 with a $5,000 signing bonus, right? So I'm like, man, that's $750. That's substantial. Right, I'm only seeing maybe $1,200 every 2 weeks, right? $1,500 every 2 weeks. So that $750 just lit a spark. So then I went to my girlfriend the next night, and mind you, I put the property in my own name because I used the FHA just by myself because we weren't married. There's no way that, hey, she's not putting up any bread. We're not married. That we're just going to be chopping that house up in half, right? So right. I say, you know what? we got these other That's right. You got to protect the bag at all costs. So then I'm like, yo, we got these other rooms, right? There's 2 other rooms that are sitting vacant, and we're not using these rooms for anything. So I said, I woke up, I say, hey, let's go ahead and rent these rooms out. She said, rent these rooms out? Like, we already got the lady downstairs. You're definitely tripping. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be living over here and across the hall is going to be 2 random strangers. So I was like, man. So I said, you know what? I asked her a simple question. I said, do you want to be rich or do you want to be poor? She hesitated for a split second and she said, you know what? I'm okay being poor.
Wow.
Wow. Like, what do you mean? She said, I'm okay being poor. She said, I'm okay being poor because, her dad, worked his way up at McDonald's, from flipping burgers to being a manager. Mom's a teacher and so forth. So they were okay just getting by. I'm like, okay, being poor. Like, wait a minute. I just spent over 6-7 years, right, watching people get on private jets to go to Australia, right? I just spent 6 or 7 years watching people get Range Rovers for their first car, right? I spent 6 or 7 years watching people rent Allen Iverson in his prime to come to a birthday party, right? I've seen too much. This is crazy. There's no way I'm okay being poor. So I went to work that day, right? Bank of America, drove up 95, and I'm just walking back and forth to the water cooler. I'm asking myself, I'm scratching my head like, okay being poor. I asked my brother, like, yo, she said she's okay being poor. My brother's like, oh, man, you got to ride that thing out, man. You guys been together 3.5 years. I said, nah, something don't seem right. Something doesn't seem right. So I came home and I said, you know what? I woke up next morning. I had to sleep on it, right? I had to sleep on this okay being poor stuff. I just wasn't feeling right. So now I'm like, listen, this is not going to work. So what do you mean it's not going to work? I said, I'm going to have to give you a 2-week notice. She's like, 2-week notice? What do you mean? I said, it's over. It's not going to work. I'm going to give you 2-week notice to pack your bags, find another place to live. I'm sorry. I wish you well, but it's not going to work. It's like not going to work. Tears rolling down her eye. Tears rolling down her eyes. And I'm just like, I probably felt like the coldest person in the world, but I knew that I seen too much, right? I'm at a point in my life where I've seen way too much. There's no way that I'm going to just put it on hold and dumb it down, right? I just spent 3.5 years in college, graduating early, right? To get to this point where I could start accumulating wealth, start buying property, start getting freedom. And she said she was okay being poor. So I'm like, man, listen, gave her the 2-week notice. Immediately, I hopped back on Craigslist. And I was searching for 2 roommates because I had these 2 rooms available. So I'm saying, all right. So I found 2 guys. They were from Las Vegas, right? They were working at a casino called the Venetian. Mm-hmm. And with the Venetian, this was all during the economy. Economy's tanking, all that good stuff. But Delaware Park just opened up. That's a casino in Delaware, right? And they were poker dealers. So the 2 friends, Dan and Paul, they moved into my 2 open bedrooms, right? So the same day that her 2 weeks is up and she's going down the steps, Dan and Paul are walking up the steps with their duffel bags, getting settled in those 2 vacant rooms, right? And it's like crazy because at that point, she knew it was real. Like I wasn't playing. Absolutely. So unfortunately, so Dan and Paul move in, and now I'm a single guy living in this master bedroom. I'm talking about I got the soaking tub, the stand-up shower, walk-in closet. I got the private balcony off of my master bedroom. Got the king bed, the dresser, the mirror, all that good stuff, right? At a young 20-something-year-old. So then I'm like, you know what? I don't need any of this. Like most people be like, yo, I'm balling out. I got 3 roommates. Right. I got Dan and Paul paying $650. I still got grandmom down in the basement paying $750. Right. But I said, yo, listen, I could do more. So what did I do? I moved that king bed that I had in my master bedroom. I moved it down to the garage.
Wow.
Right. And we're talking about a 2-car unfinished garage, right? Just on the slab. And there's no heat, no air conditioning. What I had was something called a sub-zero sleeping bag.
Hold on, wait. Hold on. Okay, wait a minute. So you moved. Wait a minute. So you moved to from the comfort of the crib to the garage to make room,
right,
for some more income.
For some more income. That's right. That's right. Wow. So I moved my whole bedroom set down to the garage simply because I said, man, if I'm getting $750 for the basement, $650 for these 2 small rooms, I need another $750.
Yo.
Right?
Wow.
Hey, when I say it's no excuse, listen. Matter of fact, listen. That's a new meaning for no excuse. You feel me? So make sure, and listen, we got a lot of new people that have joined us. You know what I mean? Shout out to the homie Neo. Listen, make sure you hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that like button while you're at it. Man, listen, Doug Depte is dropping some absolute gems. Make sure you destroy that like button right now. Oneil, what we got, man? This is crazy, man.
He dropped his girl and he moved to the basement.
Hey, next level with it.
Hey, listen.
How you felt when you left your girl?
What you say?
I was asking, how did he feel when he leave his girl?
How did I feel when I left the girl? I mean, it was hurtful, right? It was tough, right? You know, felt like your heart was in a knot, right? But I knew that my goal and where I was going was going to outsee that hurt, that pain, right? That was just short term. I'm a long-term thinker, right? I'm a financial analyst, right, by trade. So as a financial analyst, we're not looking at just right now numbers. We're looking at that long-range plan, right? I'm 5, 10, 15, 30 years out that I'm looking at, right? So I knew that if I was going to go ahead and stay, not rent those rooms out, that was going to cripple me and hold me back from reaching my true potential.
Absolutely.
Right. So I knew right then and there that it wasn't going to work.
Speak on that determination about when you saw your vision, right, and how you had a no compromise approach to your vision. Where you think that came from? Like what was the catalyst for that?
I think the no compromise approaches and having that vision was a simple fact. It was two things, right? So one thing that rubbed me the wrong way is when I got off that elevator and I saw that lady in tears, right? So she's gave this company her blood, sweat, tears, waking up every single morning, you know, leaving, hitting the turnpike, you know, strenuous hours, right, of her life. And they just pulled the plug with her as if she was just a number. So that really motivated me to like, yo, that's not the answer. There's no way that I'm going to sit here and hug this cubicle till I'm 67 and a half, just knowing that at any moment I can get that pink slip. I can get that notice that, hey, your time here is done. Right. So it was a combination of that. It was a combination of, you know, going to this school called Germantown Academy, being exposed to some crazy things, right? In regards to, you know, I'm going to Eagles game, sitting at the 50-yard line on the like right there on the actual 50-yard line, right? It's just being exposed to
that conditioning.
Like seeing Allen Iverson at a birthday party, right? And it's also my parents, my upbringing, because my parents, right, they were entrepreneurs the majority of my life, right? They actually worked from home while I was, you know, growing up. And that was a huge thing to see, just seeing that grind and mentality. I'm talking about my father used to wake me up at 4:30 in the morning on weekends with a rag and a hot bowl of water. And we had to scrub and clean. I had to scrub and clean all the carpets throughout the whole entire house. And this was a 5,000 square foot house. Wow. Like it was some Mr. Miyagi stuff, wax on, wax off. And that's why to this day, I still wake up at 4:30 in the morning, right? So it was just seeing that determination, that hard work, and just knowing that anything I want, I could have, right? But I have to put that work behind it, but I also have to be willing to make those tough decisions. And I always been someone that go against the grain, right? I don't want to just go with the status quo. I want to go against the grain, and the outcome is different than what normal people get.
Wow. That's amazing.
You said something huge that I don't want to skip over, right? So
yeah.
The failure rate in real estate is like 95%. So I don't want people to skip over it. Doug,
right.
You're uncomfortable, right? So a lot of people fail because of comfortability. You left your girl, you left the master suite to go in the garage. Like nobody finna do that. So that's why when it comes to real estate, people are so unsuccessful, and the successful rate is so low, is because people are not about to get in an uncomfortable position to win. So I don't want people to miss that shit, because that's crazy. Because you gotta be uncomfortable to get wealthy. You gotta get uncomfortable to make money. You gotta get uncomfortable to go to the next level. So absolutely. I just want everybody to realize the stuff that he's saying.
And Doug, I'm gonna be petty, man. I'm gonna be petty a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Tell me this though. Do old girl still hit you up now?
No, I haven't seen from her. I saw that she was following a couple of my stories, but I think she probably just blocked me. But I haven't seen her like physically or anything.
That success hurts.
You see, you win it.
It hurt.
You regret it now.
It hurt. Yeah,
Hey,
so it's just a situation where, hey, it's one of them things. It was just meant to happen. But like you said, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Like when I was living in that garage, it was a Sub-Zero sleeping bag, and we're talking about that sleeping bag with the hood. You tighten it up around your eyes, right? So because the winters got cold, the garage doesn't have any heat. But when I hopped in that Sub-Zero sleeping bag, it was like being in a cocoon, right? I knew that by me hopping in that cocoon for 2.5 years, right, and still going to my job, Bank of America, right, still going every single day to the job. People thought I was absolutely crazy. They thought I was crazy by having a grandmother. They thought I was crazy having those two random guys from Craigslist. They're like, what if they're going to poison your milk? What if they're going to kill you? What all this what if stuff, right? And they
yeah,
always said, hey, it's never going to work. Buying real estate is never going to work because, they're going to destroy your property. You're not going to get paid. All these things. But I decided to tone them out because I knew that my mind power, my mindset was way stronger than their negative beliefs that they were trying to put on me, right? Way stronger than those doubts that they were trying to put into my head. So it's just about being focused and being locked in.
man, that's a beautiful
Ooh.
thing.
Those parents that
Hunger,
was saying all
man.
that, what type of position they was in life? Because a lot of people get the best people. Well, the people that give the most advice is the people that's not where you want to be. So, what was those people that was giving as advice? I bet they've been there for years, uncomfortable, living
Hey,
paycheck to
listen,
paycheck.
yeah. These are some of my peers that gave me the advice, guys that I recently
They probably still
graduated
over there.
school with. Even my friends, yeah. The funny thing is, right? The other day, somebody from Bank of America hit me up and say, Doug, like I see what you're doing, man. I gotta get into real estate. However, my girl's dad is saying that real estate's not a good idea, but I'm still at Bank of America hugging this cubicle. I'm giving them 70 hours of my life every single
Wow.
week. And keep mind you, I was on salary and they don't pay you any extra for working those extra 30 hours a week,
Wow.
right?
Not at all.
They expect you to mandatorily just work that because you're so concerned about not getting fired. You're so concerned about getting that little paycheck every 2 weeks that you are willing to give them 30 free hours. It's ridiculous. So it's interesting because they're reaching out now like, yo, Doug, like I see your success. Oh man, I'm just so sorry. Like they even apologizing for me and talking bad about me, like, oh, he's gonna fail. It's not gonna work for him. There's no way that he's gonna get out of this corporate grind, right? And I'm out and I'm living with that freedom and mobility mindset and actually living, right? So it's just hard for them to see, but I appreciate them coming back out and say, hey, Doug, how can I be a part of that real estate thing? But now it's like, hey, I'm not as available. I'm not as accessible now. Back then, when I was in the trenches in the garage, you guys weren't with me shooting in the gym, right? Now you want to
Facts.
jump on
It was
board 10
laughing.
years later and then trying to figure it out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey man, I have a question. I got a question for you, Doug. Tell me this. I think yeah, so tell me this. Because you mentioned the reason why you chose real estate, right? So you mentioned that. But I want to know what was some of the best and worst lessons, and I know a lot of people in the audience probably want to hear this too. What are some of the best and worst lessons that you had to learn early on, like on your journey? Like what are some of those pitfalls that you had dealt with, you know what I mean, that can help somebody else avoid possibly now that you've seen the success that you've seen so far?
Yeah, so I think some of the pitfalls would be one, making sure that you pick the right partner, right? Make sure that they're on that growth mindset. Make sure that they're going to be a contributor, right? Make sure that they're not going to weigh you down. Also, picking your friends, right? Your friends can either take you up or they can take you down. That's kind of like just a life lesson. So I'm always analyzing who I am around and whether or not to take me up, take me down. If they take me down, I have to get rid of them. I have to remove myself from the whole situation, right? Well, some of the pitfalls as being a real estate investor, right, comes down to a general contractor. So a general contractor can make you or break you. And I'll just give you a quick story, right? There's this property in North Philadelphia. This person sold it to me for $25,000. They're going to do the construction on this property for $75,000. This was a full-out gut renovation, right? And I was convinced by the person selling me the property, going to do the construction, like, hey, if you got cash, just do this deal cash, right? And I'm a finance guy, understand the power of leverage. But I say, you know what? I'm willing to take risk. I'm willing to go a different path and see how this works out, right? So lo and behold, get into the property. They're demoing. They're taking the roof off. They're taking the joist out, like a huge full-out renovation. So they're doing this, and I'm giving some cash. Then like, oh man, we're rolling. Like I never seen anything like this. And the contractor's like, hey man, we're rolling. We got framing coming in. Start talking very, very fast, very, very fast, and things were moving very fast. But before I knew it, I basically had $70,000 of cash into this contractor's hand. And with that $70,000 of cash being into his hand, then things started to kind of slow up, right? It started to slow up all the way for 2 years.
Ooh.
So imagine having $100,000 tied up in a project for 2 years, and you're getting hit with all type of excuses, right? You know, the Pope was in town for 1 weekend, so, you know, that was an excuse, right? I'm saying what the Pope has to do with North Philly. Then it was, you know, Big Tank weekend. I said, Big Tank? I said, who the heck is Big Tank, and what does he have to do with my project, right?
Right.
So we're getting hit with birthday excuses. So what I learned, right, I learned how the process of constructing a property from start to finish, I saw it take place in slow motion. And then I realized, man, these contractors are no smarter than me, right? I could figure this out. You know, you get the demo done, get framing, get your rough and electric, plumbing, HVAC, throw your insulation, sheetrock, and then you run through the project, right? So I'm like, man, listen, I learned very early that I'll never give a contractor that much money up front, right? Wow. You have to be slow to pay, right? So I learned how to break down those payments, right? In addition to that, I knew that from that moment on, I never wanted to give another person that much control of my project, right? Ooh. So now I had to figure out how to put myself in the driver's seat. I wanted to drive my own projects. And the way I could drive my own projects is by me being my own general contractor. So now if the project takes 2 years, it's no one else's fault but my own, right? So I wanted to take ownership. And now by me being my own general contractor, I'm getting my projects done faster. I'm getting my projects done way cheaper. I'm saving about 30-40% on my projects, right? I figured out how to pay myself as a general contractor, right? And we can get into that, pay myself general contractor. So now I'm at a point where I have about 5 or 6, actually even more than that, about 6, 7 projects going on right now to this day where I'm the general contractor, but I'm not swinging a hammer, not lifting a nail. I'm not picking up materials, right? These projects are still rolling, still getting to completion. And I'm able to do so because I was willing to get beat over the head. I was willing to get beat over the head and taken for $100,000 ride, which would have upset it and probably even bankrupt some people, right? Imagine having $100,000 tied up, right, of your hard-earned money, right? This is money that I made from behind the desk, grinding, right, and just backing away.
So did you lose that money? Did you lose that money?
So the question is, did I lose the money? I didn't. And the way I didn't lose the money is because I kept the house. Right. Eventually, I got to the finish line, and I just finished up the last bit of the house myself. Right. And thankfully, that general contractor, he did reimburse me those funds back. And, you know, to give him credit, what happened was the general contractor just underestimated the job completely. Should have been a new construction price. So he was underpriced probably about $40,000 of what the job should have cost. But I rented that property out, and then I took it to a bank. And we refinanced the property. So the property value came in around 145. So I was able to pull that 100 grand right back, right? So I got the 100 grand back. So I didn't lose anything technically, but the only thing I lost was something called opportunity cost. That $100,000 could have been used in other places during those 2 years, right? I could have taken that same 100,000 and purchased about 10 to 15 properties during that time and ran them through the play. But it's a learning.
Taking that risk, or you just went out there?
No, I didn't have any mentorship, right? Ooh. So I just jumped right in, and I read tons and tons of books. But I feel like experience is a great teacher. But if I would have had a mentorship, they probably would have pulled me aside like, hey, Doug, this is how you pay a contractor. You don't just go ahead and give them $70,000 up front when they're only on phase 1, when there's 5 phases to this project, right? Absolutely. So I wish I would have had that level of mentorship. And I did, you know, back when I was 18, 19 years old, I did take a course through Donald Trump, and I'm no supporter of Donald Trump or anything, but I did take his course. I paid my hard-earned $3,000 for that course, but it just kind of touched the basics, right? You didn't really talk about these type of experiences of how to pay contractors, right? How to become your own general contractor. So I'm thankful for that experience. But one thing that I'm thankful about is that now I'm able to share all these experiences, because I've been taken through the ringer, able to share these experiences with other people so that way they can avoid the pitfalls but still have the blueprint so they can get to the levels that I'm achieving that much faster, because you don't have to learn the hard way. So I think
Absolutely.
that's one of the major lessons that I'd say throughout my journey was just becoming my own general contractor and also figuring out how to pay myself.
That's,
So, Doug,
Yeah,
before we
man,
get
that's
too
bro.
far,
Your story is phenomenal, man. Like
yeah,
just everybody listening, make sure y'all continue to smash that like button. So
absolutely.
I know a lot of people. One thing I see new investors is, they hear you, Doug, and they like, I want to get to where Doug's at, right? And
Right.
that's great, but it's like they haven't started yet. So my question to you is, would you be able to share either some advice or a strategy, a person brand new who pretty much been sitting on the sidelines and been getting all the information? Like what are some things that you can kind of give that person listening?
Yep. So for sure, this is for the person that hasn't started, right? Hasn't started their real estate journey. I think one of the things is really tapping into your mindset, right? So some things is you want to read some books like How Rich People Think or The Richest Man in Babylon, right? And really just get in tune with your mindset on how money works and that money should be your servant and your money should be your servant and multiply, right? So once you get into that mindset, right, and know that you can achieve abundance, now you're ready to learn, right? So now if you want to get started in real estate, one of the ways that I got started was using that FHA loan program where you only have to put 3.5% down. And this was back when I got my house, I put 3.5% down, but Obama gave $8,000 tax credit, right? So that helped cover some of the closing costs. But let's say, for instance, closing costs could be 3 to 4%. But there's a way where you can actually negotiate the closing costs. So that way you truly only have to bring 3.5%. Like let's say, for instance, if a property is $100,000, you got to put 3.5% down toward that. That's $3,500, right? And typically the closing costs will be, say, 3%. So that's another $3,000. But you can, in your offer, you can say, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000, but I want you to cover 3% toward closing costs. So the seller could even say, yes, that's cool, I'll go with that. But let's say, for instance, it's a competitive market, so many buyers, right? And they say, no problem. What you do is you say, hey, instead of $100,000, I'm gonna give you $3,000 more than what you're asking for. So instead of $100,000, I'll pay $103,000. However, closing costs. Now you're back in a situation where you truly only have to bring 3.5% down to buy that property. With the unit property and house hack exactly like I did, or you can buy all the way up to a 4-unit apartment building. With that 4-unit apartment building, let's say you live in one of the units, you rent out the other 3 units. Now you're living for free. And it's so important to live for free because people's biggest expense is their overhead, right? The roof over their head. So once you get that covered, now you're going to be receiving additional cash that you have 2 options, right? You can go ahead and blow the money and buy, fancy things, or you can put that money toward accumulating assets, right? And what I like to do is when I was living in that garage, all that extra cash, when I wasn't putting it into real estate, I would dump it into safe stocks, right? Safe stocks where now I'm getting a return much greater than the bank. And then when it came time to purchase and make a transaction, now I'm in a situation where I can go ahead and pull those funds out, buy the property, right? Because the name of the game is to own assets because I had control of those assets. Stock market is great, but I don't have control like I do with real estate. So let's say, for instance, you buy that first property, the FHA property, and you do 4 units, rent out all the units, you live in 1. Let's say you have a significant other, encourage them to do the same thing, right? That's what I did. Before I got married, I encouraged my wife to get a triplex in Philadelphia using the FHA to 203K FHA loan program. That's where she only had to put 3.5% down.
Wow.
But now we were able to go ahead and do the whole rehab of that triplex, purchased it for $90,000, rehab $60,000. So we're all in $150,000.
Wait a minute. You didn't drop too many gems. It's too many gems that's been dropped right now. So we got to break this down. Wait a minute.
Yep.
So you got your wife to rent. I mean, to buy a property, right? And you bought a property, and y'all both house hacked those properties together as a team.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you speak on? And you took the profits and put that into the stock market, doubled up on that money, right? So you wasn't losing nothing to inflation.
No, nope, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And this was back when, banks were low. I was cashing out on Apple, Amazon, the big ticket plays, so I was just I had a cycle. I had a whole cycle, and I'll share that with you. So I work the job,
Okay.
where I get my little salary.
Okay.
That money goes into stocks, ETFs, what have you. And then when that money build up, that pile build up, I would dump it into real estate. And this was back when, before I knew about something called the Burr strategy, which we could talk about. But I was buying real estate. And after I did the FHA plays and so forth, I had to put down 10 to 20% down on these properties. So I'm buying these properties, putting 10 to 20% down. And then as I was getting cash flow from these properties, the cash flow would come from these properties. Now, and I would take all that additional cash flow. I wouldn't increase my living, right? What most people do as they're getting that extra cash flow, now they're starting to buy the bigger car, bigger house, all that good stuff. But instead, what I did was I dumped that money right back over to that aggressive savings account or aggressive stock account. And then we're funneling that process over and over and over again. So we're just printing money, but that money is going back and toward asset producing vehicles, right? And I'm still living low. And during that time, I'm talking about eating rice, beans, steamed broccoli, steamed salmon every single day religiously. I ate that for about 6 years straight.
Wow.
Yep.
Sharika said picking the best partner is one of the best things a person can do, man. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That is
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
true.
But Doug, I want to go reverse a little bit. So we know you're a husband.
Yep.
We know you're a financial analyst. We know you're a GC. But what is exactly your niche when it comes to real estate for the people that don't know? Because they got so many, they got so many different plays in real estate. They got, Airbnb.
Oh, yeah,
developer.
Oh yeah, for sure. So my main niche is I go to essentially the hood, right? I find and locate undervalued properties in these neighborhoods that are distressed, typically. Mm-hmm. So I'll buy these properties up. I'll fix them up very nice. I'm talking about quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, luxury vinyl floors, recessed lights. I'll fix them up very nice. I'll rent these properties out. Typically, I rent them out Section 8, veteran housing, homeless housing, right? To get that guaranteed check coming in from the government, right? So I'll rent them out. Then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and refinance these properties. So I'll pull my initial capital back. I'll get some additional funds on top of that, right? And then I'll just do that same process over and over and over again. And really, I mean, people laugh like, oh man, this guy's doing the same play over and over again, right? I'm doing the same exact layup over and over again. Why? Because it simply works.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And you've perfected it. It. And the thing about it is, I would love for you to speak on that, because a lot of people, either they'll get bored, right? They lack the discipline, right? To maintain something that works and just keep doing the same thing over and over. And on top of that, the fact that you get better at the process, right? You get more resources in the process by doing so. So can you speak to the fact that despite everything else going on in the real estate world, how do you maintain that level of consistency with that same investment strategy?
Absolutely. So it's funny, like the moment Corona happened, right? People are freezing up, they're tightening up, but I'm still at the closing table buying properties, right? And the reason why I'm buying properties is simply because I know that real estate's not going anywhere. I know that people are always going to need a roof over their head, right? People are always going to need a place to run their business, right? People are always going to need a place to live. So I said, hey, listen, we're going to stick to our guns with this one, right? And I have a large portfolio that's tied to guaranteed rents, right? And I know that they're not just going to shut that down, shut that off. So I'm still buying properties, still dealing with the banks, still getting loans, still moving forward. But by having this just this level of commitment, and I'm improving these neighborhoods, right? I think there's over 30 or 40,000 properties that are vacant, that are abandoned, that are distressed right now in the city of Philadelphia. So I'm like, man, my work is not done. So I can't slow up, right? I need to be able to provide as many people as possible with a place to live, a roof over their head. By keeping that vision at the forefront of my mind, I always have to keep going. I always have to be able to provide people with a place to live, because I feel like that's my calling, right? That's what I enjoy doing. And I've gotten pretty nice at it.
Absolutely.
Wow, man. That's amazing, Doug, because it's just like I know everybody on here, man. If you're inspired, I want you to drop the fire signs in the comments, man, because just listening, bro, it's just it's not only just a true testament to discipline, what you truly did, but the fact that what I love about you, get the example, like you said, a layup. And at the end of the day, 2 points count. And if I'm steady getting layup after layup after layup, I don't care if James Harden back there doing step back threes. That looks good, but I got a higher field goal percentage by getting close buckets. And to me, that's what you're doing in the real estate. Just continue to do your strategy. So what I love about it, man. Again, I know the listeners engaged. I see the fire signs coming in. Doug, what mistakes do you see real estate investors make? And like, what would give some advice on how to avoid some of these mistakes that you see?
Yep. So I think some of the mistakes that they make is one, not getting mentorship, being cheap, right? In regards to not just leveling up and getting that education. I think that's a huge thing. I wish I would have done that a lot earlier because I would have been way further than I am today, right? I had to basically learn the hard way, go through all the ups and downs to get to where I'm at today, right? In addition to that, I think it's very important to know how to analyze a deal. So many people are eager to pull the trigger just to say that they own some real estate, but the deal might not make any sense whatsoever, right? Might not make sense from a cash flow standpoint, might not make sense from a purchasing standpoint. And the way I analyze deals, I use something called the 65% rule. So what that means is there's something called the ARV, the after repair value of a property. You pull comparables in that general radius of where that property is located, and you base that number, you multiply it by 0.65 to give you 65% of that ARV. Now, your purchase and construction has to equal that 65% of the ARV number, right? And that's going to determine whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. So if I walk into a property and I see that's 1,000 square feet and the rehab is going to be $85 a square foot, so that's $85,000, right? And I know that, let's say the value is $200,000, so 65% of that would be, I don't have my calculator in front of me, I think it's like 145,000 or something like that. But I use these formulas and use these calculations to make sure that every single deal falls within that rule. And by following that rule, it allows for me to be able to rent it out properly, right? But also the most important thing is to get all my initial capital back into my pocket, because that's the name of the game, because it's all about the velocity of money. So if I'm analyzing these deals at 65% of the ARV, and I know when I go over here to that refinance, and the bank is refinancing me at 75% of that ARV, there's like 10%, right, of a cushion there. So that ensures that I'm getting all my initial capital back and then some. But by me getting my initial capital back, I'm just recycling that same money over and over and over again. And it's just kicking out more cash every time I do the refinance. But people are like, oh man, I don't want to take on any mortgages. I'm not into that. I don't want any debt, no debt, because that's what we've been taught, right? However, if you look around, the majority of the real estate is owned with debt, and that's okay, because as long as you're not the one paying the debt. So I make sure that I do my deals that I'm not the one paying the debt, right? I don't pay any debt. My tenants pay the debt. So every single 30 days, my tenants are paying that debt, and it's locked in every 30 days, guaranteed, right? Can't get into a better situation than that. So now I'm fixing up these properties, and the tenants are paying down. And now I see every property like a retirement account, right? So the reason why I'm accumulating these properties is because, let's say I buy a property today, it's worth $100,000, right? So the tenant is paying it down. I have a mortgage of $90,000 on that property, let's say, hypothetically. But properties actually increase. Now I've noticed that by buying in these neighborhoods that I'm buying, the neighborhoods are increasing between 8 to 15 to 20% every single year. So a $100,000 property, the next year is worth $120,000, right? It's happening right here in North Philadelphia, the hood, where they're still picking up bodies off of the ground, right? So it's a situation where this is where I'm buying these properties and they're appreciating rapidly. And I don't even play the appreciation game. I play the right now game. What is the property doing right now? What are the values based off of right now, today? What are the rents right now, today? Am I able to cash flow? If so, I'm buying that property, I'm moving forward. But that accelerated appreciation that's taking place just by buying in these low neighborhoods, they're increasing. There's gentrification taking place. So I'm just watching my net worth increase almost 20% a year just off the portfolio that I have, just by naturally being located in the positions that they're in.
It's crazy.
I got a question, man. I really got two. I really got a lot, but now this is a huge debate in the real estate space when it comes to the bird strategy and refinancing. So, do you refinance 100%, like that? What you can take out? Some banks is 75, some is 80. Do you refinance the whole thing, or you refinance what you got into it plus your GC fee? Because I know it's a huge debate in the real estate space.
Yep,
Which one
yep,
you do
yep.
and why?
So yep. No, it comes down to the numbers, right? So I know, like for instance, I'm able to I'm refinancing. I have about 14 properties right now that I'm in the process of refinancing, right? And I'm getting a rate at 4.5%, 30-year fixed note, right? So
Wow.
it all depends. If I'm able to cash flow, I like to cash flow no less than $450 a door typically is like my mark, right? So as long as I'm able to cash flow, I'll go ahead and pull the whole 75% out if I'm cash flowing 450 a door, right?
Because you can make
Because
more
I
money
know
with that money.
that's cheap money. And I'm getting that money at 4.5%. And I know that I can get an infinite return on those funds, right? I'm very good. I got a strong track record of getting over a 4.5% return on my money. So if I get an infinite return, that money is better in my hands than those bricks, right? Because when you think about it, we're only saving maybe $100 or so. So I'd rather, instead of save $100 a month on the cash flow, I'd rather have that extra $20,000, $30,000 in my pocket that I'm able to go ahead and use and leverage to grow the empire even more and do bigger plays and bigger moves and get a stronger return on my funds.
Wow.
So it
Love
really
it.
comes down to the return on my funds, right? So I'm not worried about that. I'm cool with $1 billion worth of debt as long as I have someone else to pay for it, and as long as the numbers make sense, as long as I have a risk-free investment as possible by having those locked-in, guaranteed tenants in place.
So you
So
speak
it's a
of,
recession right now, and I'm still collecting. Yep.
you speak on that guaranteed rent. Can you break that down, that whole philosophy, and how you actually get that guaranteed rent popping like that?
Yep. So there's a program called Section 8. I was introduced to it because my cousin, she was living in a place called Coatesville, had a wonderful home, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. And she said, hey, cuz, I'm only paying like $100 a month for this property. So how are you paying $100 a month? That's unheard of. I know I'm paying, $1,000 to have this obstructed view at this apartment. How are you paying $1,000 or excuse me, $100 just for this property? She said, oh, it's something called Section 8. You don't know about it? I said, no, what's that? She said, oh, well, the government pays the landlord the $1,200 toward my rent, and I just have to pay $100. So it's $1,300 rent. Government pays the $1,200. I paid $100. And the best part about it is the fact that if she loses her job, she's not on the hook for that $100. The agency, the government, will go ahead and pick up and pay that additional $100. So I said, wow, like, this doesn't make any sense. Why don't more people do that? I think the reason why more people don't go this avenue is because they heard that negative stigma that associated with Section 8, right? As soon as people mention Section 8, the first thing they're thinking about is, oh, they're going to destroy my property. They're going to burn my house down. They're not going to take care of it, right? They're not going to all these crazy things. But a person on Section 8 has more incentive to take care of the property and to pay you that $100, $25, what have you, because they don't want to get kicked off the program. If you're in a situation where you only have to pay $25 to $100 a month to live for you and your family to have a roof over their head, why would anybody in their right mind want to mess that up? Right. So once I learned about that, I said, man, I can just accumulate these properties and slap it on the guaranteed payroll and just do these inspections and make sure the property is livable and safe. Why not keep running that play over and over and over again? Right. And I do have a couple market tenants. Right. But I got burned by some market tenants before. Right. But I was like, man, why don't we just go ahead and get that guaranteed money coming in? And now, right now, in the situation that we're in right now, people are begging for these guaranteed tenants, right? The Section 8 office is overcrowded. They're abundantly filled. Like, you can't even get an appointment to get your certification in a timely manner right now in some Section 8 offices because people realize the benefit now of Section 8.
Wow. Hey, man, make sure you hit that like button, and we finna take some audience questions. You know what I mean?
I got one more before we
go ahead and get it. Go ahead and get it in.
So I know we're very similar when it comes to the buy and hold strategy. Why choose the buy and hold strategy other than wholesale, fix and flip, Airbnb? Talk to us about that, because we got to give the people the information. Because a lot of people understand and don't know. Because I know all the houses that you rehab, you can just go ahead and sell it, make 40, 50,000 or whatever.
So
why do you choose to hold it for the long term gain in the cash flow?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like for instance, wholesale, you make a quick couple dollars flipping that contract. Flip, you're going to make that quick money, that big bag. But the reason why I don't typically flip is simply because by the time you work on the numbers, right, you're putting a lot of energy into a flip, right? You got to find a deal, source the deal. You have to fix it up. You got to deal with the contractors. You got to put it all together. You put it on the market. Then you get a sale, right? Hopefully you get a sale. Let's say that the profit looks like $40,000, but you got to pay the realtor 6% of the sale. You know, the seller side gets 3%, the buyer side gets 3%. So that's 6% that gets cut off the top, right? You got to pay something called taxes on that money, right? There's short-term capital gains tax, right? So Uncle Sam taking about 30-40% of that check, right? And then it leaves you with that, you know, a smaller chunk of change. So I would rather go ahead and, instead of putting all that energy and effort into that one property and only get paid that one time, because you're only as good as your last sale, you're only as good as your last flip, right? I'd rather put that same amount of energy in one project. When I refinance it and get that money out, I'm getting essentially that same flip money that flippers are making, right? However, I'm not paying taxes on it. Why? Because those funds are coming from something called a loan. So you don't pay taxes on loan money. So let's say, for instance, we do 10 of these deals. Let's say, for instance, we do 10 of these deals and the cash out is $30,000, right? So 10 times 30, simple math, $300,000. Of that $300,000, you don't have to worry about paying taxes on nothing of that because it's coming from a loan, right? And now you're in a situation where the tenant is paying down that loan. Now you can take that $300,000 off of those 10 properties and use it as you please, right? So that's why I would rather have the buy and hold property, because I'm getting cash flow every single month from these buy and holds, right? But I'm also building up my net worth every 30 days because why? The tenants are paying down the principal on that mortgage. So as they pay down the principal, my net worth is climbing. As these properties are appreciating, my net worth is climbing, right? But if I would have sold that property, if I was to sell that property, I wouldn't be in a situation to take advantage of that appreciation, take advantage of those cash flow checks every single 30 days, right? That's why if I just stopped everything today, right, and I still have that cash flow coming in. If I was a flipper and stopped everything today and that was my main source of income, right, I would just have to live off of that cash that I have. That money would eventually be depleted, right? But as a buy and hold investor, every single month that money is increasing and the value is increasing because I'm holding these properties forever. And I see each of these properties as individual retirement buckets, right? So imagine if you have 10 properties, right, all $100,000. So that's $1 million worth of properties, right? And the tenants are paying it down. So when we look up in 30 years, and let's say there's no appreciation whatsoever, in 30 years, now you have access to $1 million. And you can either do one of two things. You can sell the property, cash out $1 million, right? Pay your taxes on that and so forth. Or what I would recommend doing is go ahead and refinance that whole portfolio after 30 years and pull out 75%. So pull out $750,000 of cash in your pocket, right? When you get 30 years older. So you have $750,000 plus you kept the properties and you're still getting that cash flow. So you have $750,000 in your hand plus that cash flow every 30 days as you're entering into your golden years, right? So you're still living life. You're not living life on that. I know some people say you work 40 years to get 40% of your income. You're not living that at all because you have those individual retirement buckets. And that's just with 10 properties. And that's not including appreciation. But let's say that appreciation by 30 years, that $1 million portfolio is now worth $2 million, right? And you're getting that cash flow. So you can either sell that portfolio for $2 million or you can pull out 75%, which is $1.5 million. Now you're in a situation where you got $1.5 million of cash, free and clear, because not free and clear, but tax-free cash, $1.5 million to live into your golden years. Plus you're getting a cash flow and you can pass all those assets over to the next generation.
Wow. And that, my friends, is real shit real estate.
Hey.
He just dropped some gems on y'all, man.
Listen, man, there's nothing like real estate. I don't care what you got going on. If you don't own any real estate, you have to own some real. I don't care if you're making $1 million digital marketing on online, e-com, whatever. You must own some real estate simply because one thing, something called depreciation, right? So you can offset a large portion of your taxes by owning real estate and taking advantage of the tax code, 100% legal, so you can able to chop down your tax liability by simply owning these bricks, legal bricks.
27.5%.
Man, bro. Man, listen,
27.
Doug. You came and just like literally, bro. You gave so much value.
Blame the stage.
Man, first of all, Doug, because before we get out of here, I know we want to respect your time and things. You mentioned about you help investors learn about real estate. Talk about your program and talk about what not only about your program and where can they find your program to get started learning from you, man? Because you the GOAT, bro. You the GOAT.
Nah, thank you, man. Thank you. So a couple ways to kind of tap in with me. Instagram at Doug Depte, DougDepte at Doug Depte, right? And I have a mentorship program where I'm actually training and taking people, select few people with me on the journey of learning about real estate and how you can build passive income and make money as your general contractor, utilize that BRRRR strategy, right? And how to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I've actually been through, right? So that way you can streamline the process when it comes to building wealth through real estate. Because I'm all about sharing the information. If you go to my Instagram page, I probably give some of the most content on Instagram completely and my YouTube video when it comes to real estate. So tap in with www.executewithdoug, www.executewithdoug.com. Follow me on at Doug Depte on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. But just the name of the game is to make sure that you own some real estate and make sure that whatever mentorship that you go with, make sure that you tap into someone actually doing what it is that you want to do and living the life that you want to live, right? That's so far important. And I just want to just encourage everyone and let people know that it is possible. You don't have to hug that cubicle to your 67 and a half, right? You don't have to stand and check out groceries to your 67 and a half, right? You don't have to be in a place that you don't want to be because life is too short, right? And I'm just glad to have that freedom and mobility to spend with my family. Like my parents are getting older, right? My dad has Alzheimer's, but I'm able to spend time with him, right? I was able to take him out to job sites with me every single day until like recently, but it's just that time is priceless, right? That time with your family is priceless. And I'm just happy for real estate. And I try to share the message of real estate and ownership whenever I get the chance. So I'm just glad you guys have me on this platform to do so.
Oh man, you killed it, bro. You killed it. And also, man, we had a couple questions, man, from the audience.
Yeah.
I know Devora had a dope question. She was wanting to know, do you manage your own properties? How do you do the management piece?
Yeah. So with me, I'm a frugal guy, right? So I like to see all the money as much as possible. So I developed my in-house property management company, right? So we manage all of our properties in-house. And one of the ways that we leverage this is by using and leveraging virtual assistants, right? So we have virtual assistants in the Philippines, right? We use a software called AppFolio, but if you're not using AppFolio, if you don't have over 50 units, AppFolio wouldn't be the best for you. But there's other things like Cozy.co where it's an online way to manage your tenants. So you're able to get rental payments, you're able to get maintenance requests, right? You're able to send letters, send text messages to tenants, right? So we had the VA managing that. So as maintenance issues come in, we have a whole list of people that you would call to take care of a plumbing issue, electrical issue, or general maintenance issue, right? So now that process is streamlined. And the reason why I do that is because I felt uncomfortable paying 8 to 10% to a property management when all I could do is pay a virtual assistant anywhere between $3 to $6 an hour, right? And manage all these properties as well as do other things for the business to help us grow. And the important thing is to don't waste and spend your time doing minimum wage activities, right? Absolutely. So now we can focus on larger projects like finding the deals, right? Dealing with the financing, right? That's going to give us the greatest level of impact.
Absolutely.
So we have in-house property management. But if you don't have in-house property management, you would pay a property manager anywhere between 6 to 10% to manage that property, and they get that off the top, right? So if the rent is $1,000, they're getting that 6%, which is $60, or 10%, which is $100 off the top.
Dope. And we got another question here. Gabriel said, your thoughts on like other like forms of finance? Because, a lot of people say that, after a while, sometimes the banks won't lend to you with the BRRRR strategy, right? So what are your thoughts on like other like creative finance, subject to all that kind of stuff? How do you get around that credit cap issue?
Yep. So I don't really get into the subject too, but First, I just want you to adjust your thinking. A lot of people think that the bank's just going to stop lending to them. That's not true, right?
Okay.
A lot of people think that, hey, once I have 10 properties, I'm not going to be able to get any more properties financed, right? That's also not true. So I just want to just put that out there, that there are banks and financial institutions that are going to keep refinancing as long as your books are in order, as long as the deal makes sense. So a deal has to make sense from a cash flow standpoint, right? And also a valuation standpoint. So there's lenders that are specific for investors that you can tap into, right? So now you're in a situation where there's the sky's the limit. There's no limitations when it comes to real estate. And that's one thing that I like about it, is simply the fact that you can continue to move forward. But one way that I was able to, like during that time where I had that $100,000 tied up in that property, right? I had to find some alternative ways to continue to invest in real estate, right? During that 2 years, I wasn't just stuck with that one property. What I did was I started to leverage something called balance transfer checks. So now with these balance transfer checks, you get them with your credit card, they come in the mail. I was writing these checks off to myself, deposit them right into my bank account. And now I was able to basically raise capital at 0% interest for 12 or 18 months, that teaser rate, right? And I was able to use those funds to purchase properties cash, fix them up with that cash that I just got from the balance transfer, fix them up, get them rented out, and then I would go ahead and refinance. When I refinance, I would get a large sum of cash back, pay off the credit card or pay off that balance transfer balance, which is essentially the credit card, pay that off, and keep doing it over and over and over again. And as I paid these balance transfer checks off, they would come back and give me more checks, right? And they would increase my limits. They would trust me with more money because I was bringing that bag back to them.
Wow.
Y'all just got that business credit game. Y'all didn't even know about it.
Wow.
Right.
Listen, man.
Yep.
This episode,
Okay.
it's like our episodes get better and better and better. And Doug, when I tell you, man, this is a legendary episode. We thank you so much, man, for gracing, our podcast and just sharing. Bro, you dropped so many gems, man. It's mind blown. I'm still over here like, bro, like
trying to take it all in, man. It's crazy.
It's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, man. So listen, everybody, make sure y'all are following Doug Depte on Instagram. Make sure you guys tap in if you want to learn about the mentorship. Make sure you tap in with Doug, because listen, he said it at the beginning. He wished he had a mentor, and that mentor would have took him much further at the beginning. So a lot of times you can shorten that learning curve by actually investing, into a mentor. Listen, y'all, this has been a phenomenal week. We always wishing you guys the best, guys. Any last words from the crew, Byron Oneil?
Oh man, you got it, man. And let's
Y'all
Oneil,
got
what you got?
Yeah, got all the game. Go ahead and do something with it. Don't just be on here listening.
Absolutely.
Take notes and apply it.
Facts,
Execution.
y'all. With that, man. Facts. Execution, man. Without y'all, we out of here, man. God bless. Enjoy the rest of you guys' week.
Y'all.
Man, thank y'all.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.